Hi guys, so today we are going to discuss about SDLC. So what is SDLC? SDLC describes what is a SDLC? Yes, software development life cycle. Software development life cycle. So it describes how to develop an application based on client requirements within the time and cost. So that is called as a SDLC, software development life cycle. So how to develop an application? General, how to develop application? By writing the programs. Who will perform it? Developers will perform the programming. So directly developers, they can write the programs. No. So there is some phases are there. So SDLC describes it is a step-by-step execution process to develop an application based on client requirements and within the specified time and cost also. So what are the phases are there? What are the phases are there in SDLC? The first phase in SDLC is requirements collection. The first one is requirements collection. Who will provide the requirements? Generally, who will provide the requirements? Obviously, client will provide the requirements. Why? Because client needs some software. So client will provide all the requirements. Fine. Who will gather data from the client? Who is the person in the company? As a developer, they will gather the data? Or as a test engineer, we are gathering the data? No. Who will gather data from the client? BA, business analyst. BA will interact with the client and he will take all the information from the client. What is his requirements? So whatever the data, whatever the requirements collected from the client, BA will make it as some document. Those documents are called as BRS, means business requirement specifications. Those documents are called as BRS, business requirement specification. Some companies same document call it as SRS. Some companies same document call it as URS. BRS means business requirement specification. URS means user requirement specification. SRS means system or software requirement specification. So BA will interact with the client and whatever the data gathered, they can make it as a BRS, SRS and URS. So what it will describe? What is the data it contains? So BRS describes what is the client business needs, what is the client main business needs, what is the purpose of we are going to develop this application. Either it is a healthcare domain or it is a banking domain or it is a insurance. What type of application we are going to develop, which type of domain, and how many users are there for that application. How many users are there for those applications? What are the required services for those users? Everything will be gathered by this BRS. In this BRS describes what is the main purpose of application, how many users are those, what are the required services for those users. Everything will be mentioned in this BRS. Once BRS is completed, they will conduct one feasibility study. Whether the project is acceptable or not. Feasibility study means what are the factors are there under feasibility study. So first of all, whatever the client given requirements, okay, the budget and cost is okay or not. First thing is, what is the client budget or what is the cost for that project? What is the budget and what is the cost for the project? First they will think that this budget and cost. And second one is time. Time is also a very important factor. Why? Because within the specified time we are able to complete our project or not. So time is also very important. Third one, these requirements are reliable or not with respect to customer functionalities. Means the requirements are satisfied or not based on the customer requirements and customer functionalities, customer expectations. Based on customer expectations and based on the functionalities, we are developing requirements or not. Mainly they will think that these three. If these three are possible, then they will ready to develop this project. Immediately whenever conduct the feasibility study on BRS, budget, cost and time and requirements are reliable or not in terms of functionality to develop and customer expectations. If these three are okay, then BA will intimate to the client with one RFP, means request for proposal. They will give RFP, and once it is okay, they will write one SLA, service level agreement. So that is the first phase, requirements collection. So BA will interact with the client and gather document. They can make it as either BRS or SRS or URS. Once they will conduct what BRS describes what is the main customer business need, how many users are those for that application, what are the required services for those application. Once it is okay, they will conduct one feasibility study, whether the budget and cost, time, requirements are reliable or not. If everything is okay, BA will intimate to the client with RFP, request for proposal. Once it is fine, there is one requirement is there, SLA. Once these requirements collection is completed, the second one is analysis. The second phase is analysis phase, requirements analysis. In this analysis, these BRS documentations, BRS will be given to the system analyst. He will prepare one document. The document is called as FRS. FRS describes functional requirement specification. So in application there are some buttons are there, some links are there, everything is there, some functionalities are there. What is the individual functionalities of every component is available in that FRS documentation. So FRS means functional requirement specification. In every application there are some functionalities are there. So each and every functionalities are individual component details are available in this FRS documentation. It is prepared by the system analyst. Suppose if it is a Gmail application, there is a next button is there. What is the functionality of the next button? Create an account is there. What is the functionality of create an account? Yahoo application is there. In that also next button, sign in button. All these functionalities, all the individual component functionalities are available in that FRS documentation. Once this BRS FRS is completed, these two will be given to the design architect for the designing purpose. For the designing purpose, they will give these two documents. So in this designing, design architect will prepare some documents. Those documents, three types of documents are there: GUI designing, database designing and application designing. GUI, database and application designing. GUI means generally graphical user interface. So in this, all the dummy screens of our application is available. All the dummy screens of the application means what is the front page? If I am clicking on one button, what is the next page? What is the third page? All the dummy screens, just like it is a blueprint of your application. It is a blueprint of your application. That is called as first one GUI. What about the database? Database means every application have front end is there, back end is there. Yes, every application we are seeing that application front end and back end. So there is front end technologies are there, back end technologies are there. To develop the front end application, we go for either Java, .NET, PHP, multiple languages are there. To develop the backend, there is some backend database softwares are there. Oracle, SQL Server, MySQL, Index, DB2, multiple are there. So in this database, for my application, front end application, if I entering some data into the front end, where it will store? into the back end. So front end we are saying it, for that back end is there. In that back end, database is there. Database is nothing but some collection of tables. Collection of the tables. So for my application, how many tables are required? How many tables are required? What are the relation between those tables? And in table there are some constraints are there. Primary keys, foreign keys, some candidate keys, multiple are there. So is there any constraints are there? What is the relation between the tables? How many tables are required for my application? Everything will be mentioned in this database designing. It will take care by the design actors. Third one, application designing. In application designing, again there are two types are there. High level designing, low level designing. So high level and low level. High level means for my application how many modules are required. For my application how many modules are required. So what is a module? What is a module? Module or unit or component means some portion of application is called as a module. So a large project will be divided into multiple modules for easy development of application. That concept is called as modularization. A large project will be divided into multiple modules for easy development. That is called as a modularization concept. So module is nothing but some portion of application. It is responsible for a particular functionality, or you can call it as some unit or some component. So in this high level designing, how many modules are there for my application? How many modules? 5 modules, 6 modules, 10 modules. And in low level designing, what is the internal logic of each and every module? Suppose in this module there is some internal logic is there. Suppose if you go to the Gmail inbox, some internal logic is there. Compose, some internal logic is there. Draft, same like that. Every application, every module, there is some internal logic is there. That logic is mentioned in this low level design documents by using ER diagrams or data flow diagrams. ER diagrams are data flow diagrams. So that is about low level designing and high level designing. So here this BRS and FRS, based on these two, design architect will design what kind of application we are able to develop, either web application or Windows based application. And he will prepare 3 types of documents: GUI designing, database designing, and application designing. GUI means graphical user interface, database means backend tables, application means high level designing and low level designing. Once all these are completed, these will be given to the coding purpose. Now who will perform the coding? Yes, developers will perform the coding. Developers, they can write the programs. So developers, they will perform coding. Then the output of this phase is called as SCD, source code document. Means developers, they can write the programs either by Java or by .NET or by PHP or some any language. To develop an application, they can write some program, that is called as a coding. Who will perform? It is done by the developers. Once the application is successfully developed, yes, it is given to the test engineers for the purpose of testing. Now our role is there here. As a test engineer, our is QA, quality analyst. Quality analyst. If we are performing testing, then we can call it as a system testing. We can call it as a system testing. So what is a testing? What we have to test it here? This application. Whatever the application given by the developers, it is handed out to the QA, we are testing it. So what is a testing means? Testing means this application is properly working or not based on the client requirements. That is called as a testing. So testing is nothing but, starting explain one definition, verification and validation of an application. Verification means the software is correctly implemented or not. Validation means the implemented software meets the customer requirements or not. Same like that here also, testing is this application is properly working or not based on these client requirements, that is called as testing. As a QA, if we are performing, that is called as a system testing. Once we complete the testing, there is no errors, we are hand out to the client. Again, client also perform testing on the application, whether the project is acceptable or not. This type of testing is called as UAT, user acceptance testing. It is done by the client team. Again, that there are some two techniques are there, alpha testing and beta testing. So what is alpha and what is beta? Later on we will discuss. Client perform testing is called as UAT. Once client is satisfied with on our work product, they can release into the market. That is the next page, release. Once client is satisfied, they can release into the market. After some time, client want to add some new features or may delete old feature, that is called as maintenance. So release and maintenance. If client identified any defect at this stage, if client identified at this release stage, those defects are called as latent defect. This is identified by the client. At the time of client testing, if client identified any defect, those are called as a latent defect. Already in starting, we discussed about this defect, bug and failure. Already we discussed about all the defect is nothing but the deviation between expected result and actual result. If the defect is accepted by the developer, then that is called a bug. If defect is reaches to the end users at the time of live environment, that is called as failure of application. If client identify any defect, that is called as latent defect. So if client identified any defects, simply he will send a CR. He will send a CR, change request to the company at the release phase, maintenance phase. Or he may need some new features into his application. He may need some new features. Immediately he will use some CR. He will give CR to the company people. So at the time of maintenance, client will use CR, means change request at the time of maintenance phase. Change request means suppose if any defect is there, simply they can change it. Or client wants to add some new features to his existing system, he will use the CR. In company there is one board is there, CCB, change control board. They will work on CR and they will hand over new bill to the client. So they will work on CR and they will give new version to the client. So this is SDLC procedure, software development life cycle. So SDLC describes, it is a step-by-step process how to develop an application. So this is very, very important to the developers. Why? Because it is a development process. So what is our role? Here our role is their testing role. Application is working or not based on the requirement, that is we are verifying, that is called as our testing. Now my question is, how to test one application? How to test one application? How to test it? Okay, how to test one application? So there are different ways are there, different testing techniques are there. Some unit testing, integration, functional system, multiple testings are there. So what is the testing procedure? Same like the SDLC, we have also one life cycle is there for this testing. That life cycle is called as STLC, software testing life cycle. So SDLC describes software development life cycle, how to develop an application step-by-step process. So STLC describes how to test one application. It is very, very important to the test engineer. As a test engineer, this STLC is very, very important. There are some phases are there: test initiation, test planning, test case design, test execution, defect reporting and test closure. These are all the phases in STLC. Later on we will discuss about these STLC. Now my question is, when this SDLC is end for a project, when this SDLC, when we end, when we can stop this SDLC for a project? Is there any ending for the SDLC? So once we gather requirement, analysis, design, coding, testing, release and maintenance. So after releasing there is no maintenance part? Yes, compulsory we can maintain application. Then when we can end? If any changes are there, simply client again will give some CR to the client, and based on CR again we can give the new build. Means the life cycle will continuously rotated. When SDLC end for a project, when this process will end? When it will end? So for that there is no ending for the SDLC. Why? Because whenever the application is no longer in usage, then that is the end state of SDLC for that project. Whenever there is no longer in usage, then that is the end state of SDLC for that project, until there is no ending for the SDLC. If it is under live environment, if it is a go live environment, then there is no ending, because compulsory we are maintaining this application. So what are the common problems in this SDLC? What are the common problems? Poor requirements, means client is not given clear requirement. Is it possible to develop application? No. And there is too much less time, so much work is there. That is also problem. Schedule problems. Less time is there, large work is there, then it is also some problem to the software. And main thing is client continuously changes his requirements dynamically, then that is also problem. Today client given one requirement, we are developing. Tomorrow he will changes. Day after tomorrow again changes. Client continuously changes his requirements, that is also one problem. And main thing is miscommunication between the developers, test engineers, project managers, all the team members. If any miscommunication is there, that is also problem related to the software. So these are all common problems in this SDLC. Together at the time of poor requirements. Any more? Yes. Schedule factors, and so these are all the common problems in this SDLC procedure. So main thing is miscommunication between test engineers, developers, project managers, all these are. Okay. Now in these phases, whatever the phases are there, detailed we will discuss about requirements, how to gather it, what are the feasibility study, analysis, what FRS describes, what is GUI, DB and application, what is the source code document, system testing UAT. We will discuss each and everything with this example.